For years now, the pay and bonus pay of San Antonio leaders has been scrutinized, from the city manager position to the executives of our two city-owned utilities, CPS Energy and SAWS. A Rivard Report review of executive pay records at those two companies shows some big disparities. Brendan Gibbons from the Rivard Report joins us now to talk about what you found in this review. As always, thanks for being with us tonight.
Glad to be here and talk about this investigation.
Yeah, so let's start with why this investigation. Why was this a topic that you looked into?
It's something that I've been curious about ever since voters in San Antonio passed Proposition B last year, and that limited the pay of San Antonio's city manager to roughly 10 times the pay of the lowest paid employee of the city. That's around $300,000. And I thought to myself when that happened, I cover two utilities whose top CEOs make more than that, and they don't seem to get the same kind of intense scrutiny that former city manager Cheryl Scully was getting for that salary. So I wanted to dive in deeper. Most recently, SAWS President and CEO Robert Puente, the board approved a total compensation of nearly $600,000 for in 2019. And Paula Gold-Williams, President and CEO of CPS Energy, the pay is so much higher. She earns a salary of around $485,000. The board approved a nearly $450,000 bonus, bringing her total compensation up above $930,000.
So nearly $1 million, roughly half of that in bonus pay.
Right, and so I wondered, why is the structure so different between these two? And I ended up going on a pretty interesting little rabbit hole where I learned quite a bit about how that pay disparity between water and energy actually matches one that's going on across the country. So I surveyed municipal utilities at comparable sized utilities all over the country. We have some of the largest public utilities in the country, so it's important to know that first of all. What I found is, though, even though Robert Puente's total compensation is so much lower than the CPS side, it's still pretty much higher than any water utility I looked at. Whereas on the CPS side, on the energy side, that fell right kind of in the middle of the pack for all these top utilities. They are all paid quite a bit more. It's not unusual for a public power and gas CEO to be paid more than $1 million in compensation.
Yeah, so why the difference between an energy or power provider versus a water provider?
It all goes back to the competition for the private sector. So what experts from around the country told me is there is a labor market for these top executives, and they have to compete with people or with private companies wanting to poach these executives away. So on the power side, most Americans get their power from a private corporation, a big energy utility. On the water side, most Americans get their water from a government, and same with their sewer service. So it's interesting that because it's a government-dominated field on the water side, overall everyone is paid less.
Former city manager Cheryl Scully came under so much fire over her pay and her bonus. In your reporting about the executives for SAWS and CPS Energy, have you gotten that kind of response where people are, so heated in their questions, in their criticism, or how has that been different?
Maybe unlike a lot of reporters, I do read the comment section and the social media comments.
You're so brave.
I delve right in. Well, I'm curious to see what people think, and as it turns out, yes, a lot of people had that same reaction. Why are we paying these people so much? I think what I was surprised by learning, and what I think our reporting shows, is that same conversation, those same issues, San Antonio is not alone in that. Those are big questions across the board, and I think maybe a question worth asking is, how do we see utilities as a government entity? Are they just like any other government entity where they're paid for by taxes? In some way they're pretty different because they're paid for on a fee for service basis. So you pay them for what they provide to you. So I don't know, it's a philosophical question. Is a utility a government or is it a business? And that's kind of what we tried to get at in our reporting.
There's a lot of information here, and it's something that not a lot of people would seek out themselves, and you've made the comparison pretty easy in your articles. So thanks for shedding a lot of light on a pretty in-depth topic. We appreciate it.
I hope people will go and take a look. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brendan. We'll be right back.